911, where's your emergency?
There's a man with a gun and in camouflage, and we just heard 3 shots.
There's a guy running around with 2 guns by the fire station.
Now, sir?
He's running down the street.
He's running down the street. Stay away from him.
I got visual on him. He's in behind houses. Who's injured? 2 shots. More shots fired. More shots fired. Over by Lonsdale. 3 shots more fired.
Stay with me, okay? Go ahead.
Somebody help me!
He's going west. He wants been shot. I'm shot. He's going west on the guard inside the woods.
I'm pretty sure I know who it is you guys are looking for.
Okay.
You're looking for a Dustin Burke?
They're seared in memory. Those horrifying sights and sounds of a city paralyzed in terror while a roving gunman targeted one police officer after another with deadly calm. When it was finally over, Justin Bourque left behind 3 dead RCMP officers, a shattered community, and questions that refused to go away. Constables Doug Larch, Dave Ross, Fabrice Gévaudan died that night. 2 other Mounties, Darlene Gauguin and Eric Dubois, were injured. The slain officers were hailed as heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice, but increasingly too as victims of the very police force they served. A force now facing extraordinary charges for sending its own members into the line of fire without a fighting chance.
It's a lot of frustration among the membership in general. A lot of members are frustrated.
We can't show you his face or tell you his name, and we've disguised his voice. This is a current RCMP officer and training instructor who would be punished for speaking to us. He's one of several who reached out to the CBC. Outraged, appalled, and angry.
It is unacceptable.
Why is it unacceptable?
It's unacceptable because we're a police force. And not only that, we're Canada's national police force. Colleagues in all other agencies like Vancouver and Calgary and Edmonton and Toronto, you have all these other agencies who have way better weapons than us, but we're doing the same job as them. We're dealing with the same type of people. A lot of these people have higher powered guns than us, and we don't, so it's a problem.
Once we started asking questions, we heard that same anger echoed in several emails and phone calls from other officers. They also wanted to remain anonymous.
We call ourselves the Walmart of policing.
We were promised hard body vests and carbine training, but nothing has happened.
They were a chorus of disillusioned voices.
In terms of preparedness for an attack, we're sorely unprepared.
Training, preparedness, and manpower are the biggest issues we face.
I have raised these issues and been reprimanded for doing so.
I have colleagues who have walked away because they were afraid for their safety.
There's a guy running around with 2 guns by the fire
where is
station.
he now, sir?
He's running down the street.
He's running down the street. Stay away from him.
Incredibly, many of those who stay are taking their safety into their own hands.
I know lots of people who carry their own rifles in their vehicle.
Their own personal rifles?
Their own personal rifles, yeah, with their own ammunition that they purchase.
And why do they do that?
Just because, if they don't have a carbine, if they don't have access to a rifle, it's a lot of them, it's a sense of security to have something else. Because in most cases our handgun's not good enough, or the shotgun's not good enough.
More shots fired. More shots fired. Over by Lonsdale. 3 shots more fired.
Equipping officers with proper safety equipment, like these carbines, semi-automatic assault rifles that have a farther range and greater accuracy than pistols or shotguns, is a demand that has been raging for a decade. It dates back to Mayerthorpe, Alberta, where 4 officers were ambushed by a gunman with a high-powered semi-automatic rifle. Their deaths triggered investigations, studies, reports, and a provincial inquiry that concluded the RCMP was heavily outgunned and that RCMP members should be appropriately armed with patrol carbines. Carbines are the industry standard in Canadian policing. Dozens of municipal police forces have had them for years, but carbines have been painfully slow coming to the RCMP.
What do you think about the fact that this has been the recommendation in one form or another for nearly a decade?
I'm not surprised that it's taken this long. just knowing the way the RCMP works and what they need to do to change anything is absolutely insane. They need to go through all these processes and procedures in Ottawa, a lot of bureaucratic stuff and policies that they need to deal with. It just takes forever. But what needs to happen is we need to stop being treated as a branch of the government, and we need to start being treated as a police agency.
Last year, hours after the gunman was caught, RCMP Commissioner Bob Paulson spoke to CBC News and was quick to say this was not another Mayerthorpe.
In terms of the recommendations that came out of our study of Mayerthorpe, we've implemented them all. We have hard body armor. We have all the weapons that we need. You know, we've revised all our policies. I mean, how do you guard against a monster like this?
The RCMP started rolling out carbines in 2012, but slowly. At the time of the shootings, the detachment in Moncton only had 6 carbines. And on the night the officers were killed, all were being used for training in Gagetown, an hour and a half away.
It was very cutting words on his part. Yes, the carbines were available, but they weren't available right then and there. What Paulson said was technically accurate, but he was being deceitful at the end of the day. Because, yeah, they're available, but not accessible anyway. Let's put it that way.
What are you hoping for with these charges?
Accountability. I think governments and the senior executive have to be accountable for what's happened.
We caught up with Rob Creaser in Vancouver. Creaser is a retired RCMP officer, now with the Mounted Police Professional Association of Canada. He says carbines level the playing field, and in Moncton, could have saved lives.
I think you saw in what happened in Moncton is that one of the officers that was actually had seen Mr. Bork on the road and fired from the interior of his police car with his handgun as he was driving towards. He's trying to get within range so that he can make a shot. Well, he died as a result of that move. If he'd had the C8 carbine, he might have been able to, he wouldn't have had to close that distance. He might have been able to take cover behind his car and fire with accuracy at distance and possibly have disabled Mr. Bork. But he didn't have that weapon, and he had to close that distance, and he paid for that with his life. That's why you need those weapons.
He's in behind the house. Who's injured? 2 shots.
That stark demand is now under a harsh spotlight, directed squarely at the RCMP. The force is facing 4 counts under Canada's Labour Code for failing to provide a safe workplace to the Moncton officers. The force faces a $1 million fine, and some officials may even face prison. Creaser says safety is tied to better equipment, especially more powerful guns.
What's at stake if they don't get that?
More regimental funerals? That's what's at stake. The safety of our membership and the safety of the public is at stake.
In Moncton, the charges against the RCMP hang in the air like a silent reprimand. They were laid just days before this community event, but few wanted to talk about it. This was a day to heal, they told us, to plant trees, to sow symbols of renewal.
The trees we are planting today symbolize the strength of our community and will be a living monument to honor the 3 fallen officers. By gathering today, we feel a tremendous sense of healing and we grow stronger together.
Among the hundreds who came to honor the emergency and police officers on call that night, the wives and children of the fallen officers. Their shared grief has forged an unmistakable bond and a resolve to embrace the present. Angela Gévaudan lost her husband Fabrice.
I think it's something that reminds us that life is about what's happening now, and it kind of pulls us into the present moment as opposed to always thinking about what happened.
St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church. On the night of the shootings, people huddled in here for safety, while at one point, the gunman circled around it.
We know we come to you as broken people as we exist in a broken world. The events of June 4th last year demonstrate that all too well.
The church is still a haven. for people who still seek solace from that terrible night.
Take care of yourself, dude.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, enjoy. A little warmer today.
Hope so.
Yeah.
Beverly and Douglas Allen started coming here when the nightmares wouldn't stop. From their living room window, they saw Constable Doug Larch fall to the ground after he was shot. They still see him.
But it's something that you never forget. We look out our window and, you know, you still can see that young guy laying there.
Peace, a year later, remains elusive. Tim Sabian is a retired RCMP officer from the detachment in Moncton. He knew the dead officers, and he knows the ones who are still there.
I know that a lot of the officers at Kodiak I worked with are gone because they couldn't stand being here anymore.
Couldn't handle those frustrating, familiar questions.
Were these officers given a proper fighting chance?
No, not with that type of gun. They didn't have a chance, and that was the biggest thing with us. Our service revolvers were no match to a high-powered rifle. Didn't matter if you had a bulletproof vest or not. High-powered rifle, it would cut right through it.
There are reportedly more officers requesting transfers out of the Moncton detachment. But where is safer? The lagging carbine rollout, sharply rebuked in a report into the Moncton shootings, is being expedited, says the RCMP. But nowhere near the blanket rollout called for a decade ago.
It's been a year since Moncton. What has changed?
The only thing that's changed so far is we're seeing a few more carbines coming out, a few more members trained, but in a year it's been very minimal. It's slow. Like, they've had a year so far. I mean, they've had 10 years in reality. The pace they're moving, it's going to take at least 5 years to have everybody trained on this weapon, at least.
Is that too long?
It is way too long, because this is happening now.
How much faith do you have in your top brass to keep you and your fellow officers safe?
I have zero confidence in management.
The RCMP never responded to our request for an interview. And since the Labor Code charges, the force says it can't update its carbine figures either. But earlier reports estimate the RCMP has supplied about 2,200 carbines to its 12,000 frontline members. That's only 2 for every 10 officers on patrol. Joanna Rumeliotis, CBC News, Moncton.